They're like, how do I find out which religion? There's like millions of religions. There's, the Dawkins typical response is 10,000 gods. It's like, oh yeah, you don't need to look into every single one. You can put them into groups and then think about which of these groups seems to be the most plausible. I just write polytheism off as absurd. It seems to all go back to this original mysterious source that's eternal, that has these particular qualities, which are qualities we describe a lot as Ojel with. And you go as far as the Native Americans, they had the Great Spirit, this eternal thing that was the source of everything. They talked about it in very monotheistic ways. You go to China, you had a similar thing going on there, the Great Spirit that lived in the heavens. So you have these, reoccurring themes even in polytheistic religions, and it's like everything else is coming after this. All these extra quote unquote gods are coming after. Monotheism seems to just be the clearer option out of them, and so I just write polytheism off. Now, what that does is it really helps, because now you don't have as many religions you've got to go through. It's not 10,000 gods anymore. There's only the one. And how many monotheistic religions are there? And if there is one god and he is trying to propagate a monotheistic religion, then you've got a few really good options to pick from, and it's most likely, I would say, going to be
I like the argument as well that the religion that has to be true, it has to be accessible. So if there is a monotheistic religion that is not accessible somewhere in I don't know what type of the world, it wouldn't even come in question. Like, how does God send the revelation for the people to follow it? And like, you can nowhere find it except like in 1% of the world or something. Yeah. Like Islam, from wherever you are, is accessible.
I think this claim of, hey, there are so many religions, it's pointless to look into because there's just too many, right? I don't feel like a claim like that is a sincere one. And I've heard people say this. They'd say, oh, your prophet does miracles. Well, there are 1,000 religions out there with prophets doing miracles. And this is coming, of course, from people who believe in miracles. And if you sincerely believed in miracles, then, you wouldn't be a naturalist. And I think you'd be kind of worried, because you'd have a lot of people making claims about the reality of the world while being able to do all these supernatural things. I'd be curious. I'd leave my home and I'd start looking for these people and trying to get close to them and trying to figure out what the heck's going on.
If there was someone that was murdered, this is my favorite example for this, and you've got, Sherlock Holmes comes along, there's someone murdered, let's find out who did it. And they're bringing forth evidences, and they're looking, and they're narrowing it down. And then someone comes along and he's like, there's no point trying to find the murderer. So, what do you mean there's no point? Why would there be no point? There's only 7 billion people in the world. It could be any one of them. I guess technically it could be, but I'm not like, what do you expect every time there's a murder for us to go through absolutely every person and write them off completely? Or are we going to work a bit more productively and try to see if there's any evidence that leads
Who comes into question?
Yeah, that's the first thing. You don't just throw everything in the box and then say, now we've got to go through each and every single one of them independently.
You use filters.
Filters, the process of elimination. That's it. Where you get all categories. If this person's been murdered in Berlin or in Ireland, I don't need to consider anyone who's never been there. I don't need to think about anyone who's like in India and they've never left there. I don't need to think about people in China. It's just who was here at the scene of the crime. Whatever, we found Irfan's beard hair on the floor. Maybe he's a suspect now. Or we found, you're looking around, you're finding evidences which suggest for you to look in a particular direction. And the same thing can be done here with anything. You go through a process of elimination, you write off categories of things that you don't even really need to consider, and then you look for things which, give you reason to take it seriously as a potential suspect in the case of the murderer, or as a potential guidance when it comes to things like religion.